In ancient civilizations, the meaning of life wasn't just a question, it was a way of living. Socrates, one of the founding figures of Western philosophy, encouraged his followers to know thyself. This wasn't just an abstract idea. It was a call to examine one's own life, motivations, and decisions. Socrates believed that understanding ourselves was the first step to understanding the world around us. The Greeks weren't the only ones contemplating life's purpose. Across the world in the East, we find similar inquiries. In Buddhism, the idea of life's meaning revolves around the cessation of suffering. The Buddha taught that life's ultimate goal is to break free from the cycle of suffering through enlightenment. This perspective doesn't necessarily claim a singular, fixed meaning of life, but emphasizes a process, an ongoing journey of self-awareness, mindfulness, and detachment from the illusions of the material world. The ancient philosophies set the stage for a deeper exploration into the nature of existence. Whether through self-examination or the pursuit of inner peace, these ideas encourage us to look inward before seeking meaning externally. Fast forward to the 19th and 20th centuries, and we encounter existentialism, a philosophy that dares to confront the ultimate absurdity of life. Existential thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus brought us face to face with a universe that doesn't necessarily provide us with any inherent meaning. Instead, it is up to us to create our own meaning through choices and actions. Sartre, in his famous quote, "Existence precedes essence," argued that life itself has no predetermined purpose, and it's the individual's responsibility to define their own essence. Camus took this further, introducing the idea of the absurd. He believed that humans naturally search for meaning, but the universe remains indifferent to that search. Life is inherently chaotic and meaningless, yet humans persist in seeking understanding. This tension between the human desire for meaning and the universe's indifference is the heart of absurdism. Camus suggested that, in the face of this absurdity, we must create our own meaning despite, or perhaps because of, the universe's lack of answers. While existentialism and absurdism both wrestle with a meaningless world, they offer very different answers. For Sartre, the answer lies in radical freedom, the power to create meaning through individual choices. Camus, however, suggests that we can embrace the absurdity without despair. By continuing to search for meaning, even in the face of life's inherent meaninglessness, we create a form of rebellion against the void that gives life its unique and personal significance. While existentialism and absurdism focus on the individual's search for meaning, other philosophies explore the idea that meaning is found in relationships. The philosopher Martin Buber, for example, famously developed the concept of the I-thou relationship. For Buber, life's meaning isn't simply about personal achievements or isolated contemplation. Rather, it is about how we connect with others. The I-thou relationship is an encounter in which one person truly sees and respects another as an equal subject, not an object to be manipulated. This idea deeply influenced modern thought on relationships and community. The meaning of life is woven together through the bonds we create with others. Whether through love, friendship, or collective purpose, our lives become meaningful through shared experiences. Buber suggested that our deepest sense of fulfillment comes when we open ourselves to others and see them as ends in themselves, not as means to an end. On a similar note, the philosopher Emmanuel Levinas explored the concept of the other and how our ethical obligations to others shape our lives. According to Levinas, we find meaning through our responsibility to others through how we treat people, engage with them, and offer care. In this view, meaning emerges not as an internal quest, but as a communal and ethical journey, rooted in respect, empathy, and care for others. While Western philosophies often focus on individualism or personal freedom, Eastern philosophies take a different approach to meaning. In Hinduism, for instance, life's purpose is tied to the concept of dharma, which can be loosely translated as one's moral duty or the rightful path in life. Living in accordance with dharma means aligning with the cosmic order and fulfilling one's role in society, family, and the universe. Meaning, in this sense, comes not from pursuing personal desires, but from accepting and fulfilling the responsibilities we have within the larger framework of existence. Similarly, Taoism offers a unique perspective on the search for meaning. In the Tao Te Ching, the Taoist sage Laozi advocates for a life lived in harmony with the Tao, the way of the universe. The key to finding meaning, according to Taoism, is to embrace simplicity and flow with life's natural rhythms. Rather than striving for specific goals, Taoism teaches that meaning is found when we align ourselves with the natural order of the world, letting go of ego and desire. In both Hinduism and Taoism, we see a theme of interconnectedness, a belief that our personal meaning is bound up in something much larger than ourselves. In contrast to Western individualism, these traditions often emphasize the importance of community, nature, and spiritual connection as sources of meaning. As we enter the 21st century, the search for life's meaning seems more complex than ever. In a world dominated by technology, rapid social change, and constant information overload, the traditional answers to life's purpose might seem less relevant. But the quest for meaning is still very much alive, albeit in new forms. For example, some philosophers today focus on the idea of flourishing or eudaimonia, a concept from Aristotle's Ethics. Flourishing is the idea that life's purpose is not merely survival or pleasure, but the pursuit of a rich, fulfilling, and meaningful life. In the modern world, flourishing might be understood as living in a way that allows for personal growth, meaningful relationships, and the pursuit of knowledge. This modern adaptation of ancient ideas encourages us to seek balance, cultivate our talents, and contribute positively to the world around us. At the same time, many people in the modern world seek meaning through creative expression, artistic pursuits, and personal development. In an age where we can build our own platforms and tell our own stories, meaning can be found in the act of creating something that connects with others, transcending the self. Artists, writers, musicians, and creators of all kinds often find purpose in their work through both the process and the impact it has on others. As we venture further into the 21st century, we find ourselves in an age marked by technological advancements that have drastically reshaped the way we experience the world. The internet, social media, artificial intelligence, and virtual reality have altered the way we interact with one another and with ourselves. These developments have led many to question how technology influences our search for meaning in life. Does technology enhance our lives, or does it create a sense of disconnection and alienation? And can we truly find meaning in a world that feels increasingly driven by machines, algorithms, and digital distractions? One of the most significant changes technology has introduced is the rapid pace of communication. Information is available at our fingertips, and social interactions can happen instantaneously across the globe. This connectivity can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it allows for a sense of community, where ideas and experiences can be shared instantly. It enables people to connect with others who share similar beliefs, challenges, and aspirations, creating new forms of solidarity and purpose. For instance, online communities devoted to various causes, hobbies, and support groups can provide people with a sense of belonging and identity that might have been difficult to find in their local environments. On the other hand, the constant barrage of information and notifications can leave us feeling overwhelmed and distracted. We are bombarded with content that often prioritizes entertainment and superficial engagement over deep reflection or meaningful dialogue. Social media platforms, in particular, have been criticized for fostering an environment of comparison, envy, and insecurity. The curated nature of online personas can make it difficult to connect with others in a genuine and authentic way, leading to feelings of isolation, despite being constantly surrounded by digital noise. In this context, the search for meaning can feel elusive, as we are constantly distracted by the need to keep up with trends, likes, and followers rather than focusing on deeper existential questions. Moreover, the rise of artificial intelligence and automation has raised questions about the future of work and human purpose. If machines can perform tasks more efficiently than humans, what role do we play in a society increasingly dominated by technology? Will our sense of meaning become diminished as our work becomes less central to our identity? These questions point to a deeper concern about the erosion of human agency. If the systems that govern our lives are increasingly controlled by algorithms, how can we ensure that our search for meaning remains authentic and not reduced to mere consumption or efficiency? Despite these concerns, there are those who argue that technology can, in fact, enrich our search for meaning. Virtual spaces, for example, can allow us to explore new ideas, cultures, and philosophies that might not have been accessible to us otherwise. Online education platforms have made learning more democratized, enabling individuals to explore topics that resonate with their personal interests and passions. Technology also allows us to document our lives, preserving memories and experiences in ways that future generations can access. The digital age may offer us new tools to connect with meaning, but it requires us to be mindful of how we use those tools. In the end, the relationship between technology and meaning is complex. Technology itself is neutral. It is how we choose to engage with it that shapes its impact on our lives. If we allow technology to be a tool for self-expression, learning, and connection, it can enhance our sense of purpose. But if we become enslaved by the demands of digital life, losing touch with our inner selves and the world around us, we risk falling into a cycle of distraction and emptiness. The key is balance, embracing the benefits of technology without letting it dictate our lives or diminish our sense of meaning. As we continue exploring the meaning of life, one theme that arises again and again in philosophical thought is the role of suffering. Suffering is a universal part of the human condition. It comes in many forms: physical pain, emotional turmoil, existential despair, and the suffering that arises from loss, injustice, and the inevitable passage of time. In light of this, many philosophers have grappled with the question, how does suffering contribute to our search for meaning? Does it diminish life's value, or can it actually be a source of profound insight? The ancient Greek philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." While this statement has been interpreted in many ways, one interpretation suggests that suffering, while difficult, can lead to personal growth and transformation. Nietzsche believed that by confronting suffering directly, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Through struggle, we discover our inner strength and resilience. This idea is central to Nietzsche's concept of the will to power, the idea that life is about overcoming challenges and embracing struggle in order to achieve a higher state of being. In contrast to Nietzsche's view, some philosophical traditions, such as Buddhism, argue that suffering is an inherent part of life, but it is not something to be overcome in the traditional sense. Rather, it is something to be understood and transcended. In Buddhism, suffering is considered the result of attachment and desire. The path to enlightenment, therefore, involves understanding the nature of suffering, letting go of attachments, and cultivating a sense of inner peace. In this view, the meaning of life is not found in avoiding suffering, but in learning to navigate it with wisdom and compassion. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer also had a unique perspective on suffering. For Schopenhauer, life itself is characterized by suffering because human desires are insatiable. He argued that our constant striving and yearning for things, whether for success, wealth, love, or pleasure, inevitably lead to dissatisfaction. Schopenhauer suggested that the key to overcoming suffering is not through achieving more or gaining control over external circumstances, but by letting go of desire altogether. This resonates with many Eastern philosophies, which teach that detachment is essential for finding peace in a world that is inherently painful. Despite the differences in their views, many philosophers agree that suffering plays a central role in shaping the human experience. Whether it is through Nietzsche's call to embrace struggle, Buddhism's invitation to understand suffering, or Schopenhauer's emphasis on detachment, suffering is seen as an inescapable part of the search for meaning. Far from being a force that diminishes our lives, suffering can be a catalyst for growth, self-discovery, and deeper insight into the nature of existence. In this way, suffering serves as a reminder that the search for meaning is not always a straightforward path. Life's challenges and hardships can, paradoxically, provide opportunities for profound spiritual and philosophical exploration. The very fact that we experience pain and loss pushes us to reflect on our values, priorities, and beliefs. And while we may not always be able to control the circumstances that bring suffering into our lives, we can choose how we respond to it, and in doing so, we shape the meaning of our lives. One of the most profound questions that arise in the search for meaning is the question of death. Death is the ultimate unknown, the inevitable end that awaits all of us. And yet, despite its universality, we often avoid thinking about it, as if doing so will somehow diminish the value of our lives. But death, in many ways, is inseparable from the search for meaning. It is the awareness of our mortality that gives life its urgency, its poignancy, and its preciousness. Throughout history, philosophers have grappled with the significance of death in relation to meaning. For existential thinkers like Heidegger, death is not something to be feared or avoided. Rather, it is something to be embraced as a defining aspect of human existence. Heidegger argued that by acknowledging our mortality, we are compelled to live more authentically and fully. Death, in this sense, serves as a reminder to make the most of the time we have and to live with purpose. By confronting our finitude, we are urged to reflect on what truly matters and to make choices that align with our deepest values. In contrast to Heidegger's existential take, many religious traditions view death as a transition to another realm or state of existence. For example, in Christianity, death is not seen as the end but as a passage to eternal life. In Hinduism, the soul is believed to be eternal, and death is merely the transition to a new life in the cycle of reincarnation. These beliefs offer comfort to those who fear death, suggesting that life's meaning transcends the physical world and extends into a larger spiritual context. For some, the idea of an afterlife provides a sense of continuity and purpose, suggesting that life is a preparation for what comes next. But for others, particularly those who subscribe to secular or atheistic viewpoints, death may be seen as the end of consciousness and the final cessation of existence. In this case, the search for meaning becomes even more pressing, as it is not rooted in the hope of an afterlife, but in the finite nature of our time on Earth. For these thinkers, the challenge is to find meaning in the here and now without relying on the promise of eternal life beyond death. In either case, death serves as a powerful reminder of the impermanence of life. It forces us to consider what is truly valuable and worth pursuing, whether through existential reflection, spiritual beliefs, or a commitment to living authentically. The awareness of death compels us to engage more deeply with the question of meaning. In this way, death does not negate life's value, but rather amplifies it, urging us to live with intention and purpose in the limited time we have. As we come to the end of this exploration, it's clear that the search for the meaning of life is not a destination, but an ongoing journey, one that is shaped by the questions we ask, the choices we make, and the relationships we build. From the ancient philosophies of Socrates and Buddha to the existentialism of Sartre and Camus, from the communal bonds of Buber and Levinas to the modern challenges posed by technology and suffering, each perspective offers unique insights into what it means to live a meaningful life. At the heart of this journey is the recognition that meaning is not something that is handed to us on a silver platter. It is something we must create, discover, and live each day. And while there is no universal answer to the question of life's meaning, there are countless paths we can take, each offering its own set of rewards, challenges, and possibilities for growth. In the end, the search for meaning is not something we complete once and for all. It is a process of continual self-discovery and exploration. Whether we find meaning through personal freedom, connection with others, or the embrace of suffering and death. The important thing is that we keep asking the question and seeking answers in our own unique way. So, as you reflect on your own journey, remember that meaning is not something to be found in external validation or achievements. It is something that comes from within, from the way we live, the choices we make, and the love we share with others. The search itself is the meaning, and it is a search that will continue for as long as we are willing to ask the questions and embrace the adventure of living.